GASWorks, a guild of artistic sorts, the North Shore's Arts and Entertainment Network. And today we have a really exciting show based on maritime arts in Salem. We have the Ladies of Salem Artists, which is a maritime arts project that has become quite popular here in Salem this season.
And then we're going to return to 18th century Salem with musical Pastimes, which is an act comprised of dance master Tobias Tripp and Prudence Meriwether.
So let me introduce you to the Ladies of Salem Artists and also the lady behind the lady. This is Mary Ellen Hallowell, and this is John Devine, one of the artists, and this is Sheila Farron Billings, who is also one of the artists on the project. I am actually going to use notes today. I don't like to use notes, but there's so much to talk about behind this project. It's been quite a journey. I first want to just make sure the audience knows that behind this project is the Salem Beautification Committee, which is a group of fantastic professional women who volunteer I'm sure of the very little time that they have to do these fantastic island beautification that we've seen all over 5 years, has it been?
I don't know how, but I think over 5 years.
Over 5 years. Right. It's been tremendous. The entrance corridor and all the main dragways throughout Salem is just beautiful and stunning, and they're out there all the time, just beautifying Salem.
Right,
so,
and we're appointed by the mayor, and our mission is to promote civic interest and beautify the city of Salem at the same time. And it's been a fun project, and we have 8 members, and they're very dedicated to Salem and enjoy working around Salem and getting the public involved.
Yeah, there's so much to talk about, but I do want to invite people to visit the website ladyofsalem.com. You can learn more about the Beautification Committee. Also has a link there. There's some fantastic women involved with this project, and I'm sure they're always looking for new energy because they do a lot of hard work.
Yep. Volunteers, yeah, we're always looking for them.
So because there's been a lot of really great press about this project, and I have heard people just talking on the streets, walking through the streets, because we're on the pedestrian walkway all the time, my husband and I walking our dog, and we get to hear people talking about the Ladies of Salem. I want to talk about the artists involved and the process for you. So tell me about how you got this idea, and first of all, what is the Lady of Salem?
Well, I was on vacation and looking through a brochure and came across an ad for Moose Fest in Bennington, Vermont, and where they take these huge moose and artists decorate them. They place maybe 10 or 15 around town, and it's an event for tourists as well as for the people who live there. It kind of creates some buzz, some interest. And as I read it, I said, wow, you know, Salem's got such a great maritime history. Why not take the same idea using an icon? And I thought, well, a figurehead would be a good icon because it's, you know, they were on the clipper ships, and the Peabody Essex Museum has a wonderful collection. So I did a little research and was able to find a maker of fiberglass molds of figureheads. And I thought, well, you know, Beautification Committee, it's not necessarily has to be all about traffic islands and flowers. We can beautify through public art. So I presented my idea to the Beautification Committee, and from there was able to form a subcommittee of 3 members, including myself, 4 members, including myself, and we started work on researching the possibility of having a maritime arts festival using the figurehead as an icon.
The word that I keep hearing over and over again, whether it's in a written response on the fan page or just hearing people on the street, is brilliant. What a brilliant idea. And so I'm really hoping that this idea just takes off and grows. I can see it going on for a long time.
Yeah, this is our 2nd year. The first year we had three ladies up, and Bernard's had one in their window, Palmer Cove Yacht Club, John was the artist there, and the Beautification Society sponsored Our Lady. 3 were up, and then this year we have 12 that are presently up and being judged.
Great. So before we get to the individual artists, I would like to talk to you about having to also wear the hat of the first artist. You know, the first lady I saw was the one that you created. What was it like, that process? Why did you choose to paint the
Well,
Lady
not
of
only
Salem?
did I think it was a good idea and we were able to get, the team together, you need to do the research and make sure that it's feasible before you present it to the public, and the sponsors. So my role was more or less just to go through the whole research of buying the lady, seeing how good the product was, figuring out how we would mount the lady on a backboard, and how to apply the paints and how to fix the lady on the backboard. Would the paints look good? Was it one coat or two? How could I bond seashells or bond other products onto it?
The seashells have a very delicate. What was your idea behind the seashells? Because they're so intricate and tiny and just beautiful.
Well, I like those sailors' valentines, and I'm a shell collector, so I just because naturally driven to like the maritime and the shells and the ocean, so kind of wanting to echo that theme, and I just liked working with the detail of the shells and incorporating them into her dress.
Yeah. Now you had said earlier that it's a work in progress for you. You're still collecting shells for this lady.
Which is nice to know. The other aspect is you work on a lady, and if you want to work on her next year, because we're hoping to break out the Lady of Salem for 2013, the artists can add a little bit more detail if they think that they didn't have enough time, or they have another bolt of inspiration about what they want to do with their lady. It's amazing what you can do with Bondo. And it really, and we needed to know that, hey, that works out in the elements.
But you're also bringing in new artists and hoping to double the project.
Exactly.
I also want to talk about the process for all of the artists, because the themes that people came up with were just so much fun to see as they started to come through, as the work started to be done.
John's is very, very much.
John, yours was one of the first ones, and so tell us who you did it for and how you got your idea.
Well, I was on the board of directors for the Palmer's Cove Yacht Club the year that she came in with the idea, and we voted to go ahead and sponsor one of them. And I said I would head up whatever committee we put together, and asked for volunteers, and I was the only one. So
you go right ahead with that. That always happens. Yeah.
But it truly is interesting. It was a lot of fun opening that box and pulling the stark white lady out and saying, now what am I going to do with this?
Yes.
And finding that there's not a piece of flat area on the thing to really put something on, like I've seen like the moose, they'll have clouds and a pastoral scene painted on the moose, but
or the cow
it really,
in New York.
But they have a flat body.
Yeah.
Right.
She's
so
got
what
a lot
I'm saying,
of undulation.
so it
Big
completely
undulation.
changed. So it made it interesting to work with, and it took me a long time to figure out how I wanted to go. I knew I wanted to represent the yacht club, and so being in the years we're in, and the women being in the yacht club now, they're been members for years. They've been officers of the club. So I put the little nautical hat on the woman to bring her up to this century, and didn't know what to do with the dress, and I actually bought some nautical fabric and adhered it to her dress that was the mold.
That was a good idea.
And that's something that always confounds people. How did they do that? It's really stunning
and
when
then
you did it.
A lot of gold rope work around, just glue gun and
it was, and that's what happens. You get to have so much fun if you're the guy who puts your hand up and said, "I'll do it." I bet it was a lot of fun.
I had a pair of sunglasses that were supposed to go on her, but she doesn't have ears, and I couldn't nail
Oh yes! Oh, you have to.
Well, we do that next year. You get a way to attach them.
Yeah, a drill in there.
Yeah.
Well, that's one thing that I've come to admire about them. You look around and say, I wish I'd thought of that. Like somebody decides, is it Home Depot is one of the sponsors?
Absolutely.
And whoever the artist was, you stand 12 feet away and you think you're seeing delicate stars, and then you go up close and you're seeing nuts, bolts, carpet tacks, and it's just very
Yeah,
clever.
you have to get up close, and I can't stress strong enough how important it is to just take that scavenger hunt around Salem and look at them up close and personal, because pictures just don't do them justice.
That's true.
They really are fantastic. And anyway, I want to make sure that we have time to just thank Sheila Billings for being here. GASWorks would absolutely not be here without you. Sheila is the lady who sat in my backyard one day and told me about this idea and this conversation that she was having at SATV, and invited Dan and I to do the show.
Oh, you're perfect for the
Oh,
show.
I
Thank
just
you.
have to
The
thank
two of
you.
you together
We're having a
are
lot of
perfect.
fun.
I'm Regis.
I wish I were Kathy Lee.
I'd leave you.
So anyway, I wanted to talk about, now you had a lot of freedom in what you came up with. You really had a lot of freedom. You worked with you had a lot of back and forth with your sponsor. Do you want to
Yes.
tell us about your sponsor and
Yes.
what that was like for
My
you?
sponsor was Cabot Financial Services,
Mhm.
and I did a lot of research on my lady. And I think, being a former teacher, you never want to have less than twice as much research as you need on anything that you're going to do. So after talking with them, we decided together that they would go with the international trade theme. So I had decided to use a palette of colors that matches some of the colors they use in their advertising.
Now the Cabot family has a history in international trade, don't
Yes,
they?
they do.
So that was a brilliant idea.
Yes,
That's great.
they do. And Cabot Management is an international financial company. So it really went with what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
And I tried to get the idea of the international trade across by making the lady's skirt into a map of the globe. And that was amazing.
And she makes it sound
I can't
easy.
believe
Oh,
she
Yeah.
did that.
She does. You see
Yeah.
it up close, and you're looking at it sideways. How'd
Africa,
she
there's
take this
India.
three-dimensional thing and get the map right
Yeah,
on
there's
it?
Italy.
Yeah.
Like how?
Yeah.
You know, the way I did it, if you ever flattened her skirt out, it wouldn't look anything like
Right.
a map of the globe. I picked a few countries like Italy. I made sure that Florida showed up on the United States, or things that you really notice when you're looking at the globe, and I made sure those really showed. And then some of the ones that are inside the folds of her skirt, I didn't worry about those showing.
Yeah.
But the colors, Home Depot gave us custom colored paint, and it was really good paint. As an artist, I was at first going to use my regular paints that I use when I do my own work, but I was able to do the whole thing using the Home Depot paint. It
That's
was good
fabulous.
stuff.
Wow.
Good stuff.
And
Yeah.
they're wonderfully durable. I've been looking at these things for months, and they look,
It's like the day they
Brand
went out.
new?
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
like to thank Ray Whittier, who's sort of our right-hand man when it comes to mounting the ladies on the backboard,
Oh.
and then they're UV
Weatherproof.
weatherproof, and they really stand up.
Yeah.
I know you did your own, and you did a great job on your own.
And it made it through that
hurricane
hurricane that we
last
had.
year.
right?
I know,
Yeah,
I was
and
so
Yeah.
worried.
And I was afraid she was going to lose her hat. Where did you get that hat for her?
At a toy store in Marblehead. I
Did
looked
you
everywhere.
really?
Yeah. And,
It's
a tiny head.
Yeah, there's
it's
Yeah.
a very tiny
Yeah.
head, and I was astounded. I'm just going to throw, I want to make sure that we talk about all the artists, but I know I'm going to miss somebody. But I just want to call attention to our audience who hasn't seen the ladies that there's the artist who did Treasures Over Time.
The mermaid.
The mermaid, literally, she
Outstanding.
created a mermaid that looked like she had been in the depths of the ocean and came back with treasures over time. And didn't this artist also do two?
Yeah, she did Which Way Gifts. was
Which Way
another sponsor,
Gifts?
and she had their lady is very much looking like was it Hester Prynne? Was that
Hester Prynne
Scarlet?
with the scarlet
Yeah.
letter.
Very
And it's right
clever with
outside
the
the
rose
hawthorn.
compass in the background. It's
Oh,
the
yeah.
colors are just so they contrast
Yeah.
between Treasures Over Time and the Mermaid,
Yeah.
and the deep, dark, rich tones
Yeah.
of Which Way Gifts
Yeah.
is beautiful.
Yeah, and even
Jean Paré did a wonderful job.
they're all amazing, and I'm a little afraid to start naming people because I really want to encourage people to go to the website. You have a vote right now a survey that is going to be up until September 15th,
right.
where people can go and visit all of the ladies and look at them up close and personal, but I still want to encourage you to visit them in person. I do, because we are tight on time, I do want to ask you about the future of the project.
Well, we hope to have Lady of Salem 2013, and we currently have our first sponsor, Gordon College, is sponsoring a lady, which they will put up in the Salem Museum. So I'm kind of excited about that. Because that's such an appropriate place, Old Town Hall, where the museum is.
The Old Town Hall, the Salem Museum.
And we're currently writing grants, looking for underwriters and sponsors to garner, get more traction for 2013. And then in turn, once we get the sponsors, we'll be looking for artists.
Yeah.
And we'll have you back. Meanwhile, we do have to, alas, cut away. We could talk about this for quite some time. I love those ladies. I love to walk in the morning and see them hanging there.
I have to just say, I have seen teenagers run up to them and say, "Oh, look, and there's more." And you get that out of a teenager, you know?
Yes.
So
What we're going to do is we're going to come back with the 18th century music from musical Pastimes, but first we'll look at this PSA.
Tyrone is a man with a lot on his mind. He has many things to say, but feels that he has no voice. Then, one day, a friend called. The friend told him about Salem Access Television, a place in his community where he could produce and broadcast his own television shows. Tyrone went down to 285 Derby Street in Salem and went inside. Once there, he signed a membership agreement and paid a small annual membership fee. He was then given the orientation and all of the training he required to produce his own television shows by the expert and friendly professional staff. Tyrone got it. He is now ready to be heard.
Look, guys, it's not babysitting when they're your own kids. And what about when it's cold outside? Everything freezes but the fluids in your face. And a perfect guy?
SATV. Make your reality television.
Folks at GASWorks, welcome to Dance Master of Salem, Tobias Tripp, and the finest violinist of the 13 colonies, Prudence Meriwether. Together they are musical Pastimes.
Here's a snappy little number from 1790. One misty, moisty morn, when cloudy was the weather, I met with an old man. He was clothed all in leather. He was clothed all in leather, with a cap beneath his chin, singing, howdy-do, howdy-do, howdy-do again. I went on to farm, there I met a maid. She was going a milking, so she said. I began to compliment, and she began to sing, singing, howdy-do, howdy-do, howdy-do again. She said her name was Dolly, clothed in a gown of grey. I, being somewhat jolly, persuaded her to stay. In many fine embraces, I stroked her double chin, singing, howdy-do, howdy-do, howdy-do again. I said that we should married be, she should be my bride, and long we should not tarry, 20 things besides. I'd plough and sow and reap and mow, while she could sit and spin. Howdy-do, howdy-do, howdy-do again. Will you spin for us, Prudence? I love it. Soon consented, all parties were agreed. Her pork 30 shillings, we married were with speed. And Will Piper he did play, while others danced and sang, singing, howdy-do, howdy-do, howdy-do again. Then lusty roving Robin and many a damsel gay mounted on Roland Dalton to celebrate the day. And when they got together, their hats they oft did fling, singing, howdy-do, howdy-do, howdy-do again, singing, howdy-do, howdy-do, howdy-do again. Last time it's howdy-do, howdy-do, how do you do again? And now a piece featuring Prudence Meriwether, the finest violinist in all 13 colonies. Theme and variations on an old Scottish tune called Maggie Lauder.
Thank you so much. That
Thank
was
you.
wonderful.
Thank you very
Wonderful.
much.
Thank you.
I could listen all day.
Oh, thank you. Goodness gracious.
Those were the musical stylings of musical pastimes, and that would have been Salem dance master
Tobias Tripp, sir.
Tobias Tripp and Prudence Meriwether.
Yes.
And we're going to talk to their modern day alter egos, which would be Larry Young and Susanna Powers.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So you told me that what you were playing was 18th century,
That's right, the music of the 1700s.
1700s.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes, yes indeed.
You know, I once met a science fiction actress by the name of Claudia Christian who played a 26th century female powerhouse, and somebody asked her, you know, would you love to go to the 26th century? And she said, no, I want to go back. I want to go see. I get the impression you two are exactly the same. You'd love to go back. Right?
I would indeed. I'd love to dress like this every day.
Would you?
Yes, but I do appreciate my dentist.
Yes. That's
Painless
probably number one.
dentistry, tying the twine to your thread, you know, to a doorknob. And,
Oh, it was even worse.
Really?
Yes, they had pliers. Dentists were called operators for the teeth. And they had to be strong because the patient would actually lie down on the floor. The dentist would clasp the patient's head between his knees.
Oh my goodness.
And had long pliers.
And he had to be
would
clean.
they would rip the offending tooth out sideways.
Didn't they also cut hair?
Oh,
yeah,
my goodness.
barbers and surgeons. Yes, indeed.
That's funny.
Dentists, yeah, it was not fun. Not fun.
No, no. So musical pastimes, I understand, I mean, that isn't just a performing act, you're also an educational act, right?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
We go to schools and talk about history and play music and tie the two together.
Wow.
Right. We find that just music doesn't hold people's attention as well as chat and music, and then chat and music. And that seems to be a formula that keeps kids' attention pretty well.
Yeah.
I had been an educator for over 20 years, and the arts, and I think educators are getting that now, the arts is the best way in, especially for things like history.
Yes.
With kids.
Yes, and
But
the
in
music,
mathematics, science, everything.
and the music ties it in and brings it alive.
Mhm.
And especially in this day and age where creativity cannot be overstressed and overemphasized, with the job market changing so quickly, the kids that are educated in the arts are the ones that can adapt better later to the changing job market. So we cannot stress the arts enough
Yeah.
because it makes the kids so adaptable.
Yeah, flexible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we should point out that these are not just wonderfully talented musicians, these are wonderfully educated and credentialed musicians. Susanna, you came from Hamburg, Germany.
That's right.
To attend Juilliard.
Yes, I finished high school in Germany, and then I applied to the Juilliard School in New York City, and they accepted me. And if they say yes, you go.
Yeah.
And so I went, and 1 year turned into 2 years, and after 2 years, I might as well stay 4 years.
Yeah.
And after that, the rest is history.
Yeah.
Really.
You know, I've known some wonderfully talented violin players. I've never known a doctor of violin. You're a doctor of violin.
I am. It's the Doctor of Musical Arts.
Really?
And the way you get your doctorate degree is through lecture recitals, and you have to perform 2 concertos in the same recital back to back. I got my doctorate at the Catholic University in Washington.
Wow.
And then they give you 60 days, and you have to prepare your own recital without any help. And so that makes up your dissertation, as it were. Other schools have dissertations, but I had to give lectures. And I still do.
You do? Where do you do?
For the children.
Yeah.
For the children?
And,
Yeah.
just for the younger audience now, but I just love it.
So you ain't just a fiddler.
Absolutely
no,
not.
no. In fact,
absolutely.
we're often asked, what's the difference between a violinist and a fiddler? And Susanna's answer was, a fiddler does not have to play in tune. Which I took great umbrage at, but there you go.
So how about yourself? What is your background?
Yeah.
Yes, I studied violin at Dartmouth, where I went to college, and got interested in folk music, ethnic music, traditional music. So I've been playing a lot of Irish and Scottish music for years and years, and then always was fascinated by, music of the 17th and 18th century. When I was a little kid, I had most little kids were out playing, baseball and Little League, and I had a colonial tavern in my room.
Oh, really? I love it.
I did. I'd give my friends water in steins,
Did you? Oh, so you were the bartender.
I was the bartender.
That's
I was
tavern keep,
the
yeah.
publican, if you will.
Ah, the publican.
Yeah.
I love it. You've never shared that with me.
Well, there you are.
The things I find out.
That is marvelous.
Yeah.
That is just marvelous. So no cowboys and Indians for you.
No, it was all redcoats and rebels.
That is one of. How did you two meet and come together in musical pastimes?
Well, that's actually his fault.
Yeah. Well, my daughter, I've got a now 11-year-old daughter who's taking piano with Susanna.
Yeah.
And she's an amazing piano teacher, very
Thank
gifted
you.
teacher. And that's how we met. And then I've been doing sort of period music for a while, and
And
thought,
he
how
asked
can I
me-
convince her to play with me?
Well,
It didn't take much. He said, I have a costume for you. At the time, I borrowed a costume. And when you see something like this, you don't say no. Again,
No.
one
It's
of
a
those
costume.
of course moments.
So tell me about the costume that you're wearing, because it's a work of art.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I made this dress.
You did?
I did. After the first dress I made, I used a horrible fabric. And if you start with bad fabric, you sunk from the get-go. But I did wear it. Remember that?
I
And
did.
you were so kind about
I was going
it.
to say something about your choice of fabric, but I kept my,
You
held my
you
peace.
hinted, and I never listened.
it was like upholstery fabric, was it? Like,
It
it's
was,
bad.
and it was
Sorry.
it was heavy and thick and actually pretty hideous. It no longer exists. But in any case, I knew after a short while I needed a different one. I got this fabric and learned how to stitch it by hand because, of course, in the 18th century, nobody had sewing machines.
Sure.
And you really cannot make it on a machine. So you just learn step by step.
Wow.
I spent some hours on the internet, trying to find how to videos or something, but mostly it's trial and error.
Well, but you say it like you just figured it out. But having been in a graduate program where I had roommates that were costumers that went on to work at the opera and what have you in New York and all over. They took years to do what you say you just figured out on your own.
Oh, you're too kind.
beautiful.
Well, they have blogs, and I spend lots of time on those blogs
Yeah.
with pictures and tips. Don't do this, it'll look
Yeah.
like that. And so,
Okay.
of course, that helped me a lot.
So I'm guessing there's not an inch of Velcro or
Nothing.
or synthetic
Never.
thread. No.
No. it
How
is-
much?
Go on, check it out.
Well, I was going to
It's
say,
authentic.
how much does it weigh?
Over 10 pounds.
Over 10 pounds.
I did weigh myself once before I got dressed, and it is 10 pounds of wardrobe.
I'd have guessed more.
Yeah.
Guessed more. How much did the first one that you threw out, how much did it weigh?
20 pounds.
Yes, 35 and up. It was...
Why'd you weigh so? Why didn't you upholster something? Wow.
I don't want to run out of time, and I always find that I wish the show was an hour long. But where else do you perform? Where else can we find you? I know the audience should know, certainly, that your website will be linked on GASWorks and YouTube, and there's that way to find you. But where else can we find you?
Right. Well, I'm in Salem quite a bit. I'm at O'Neill's Pub in downtown Salem on Washington Street.
Which we love.
He is on Fridays.
Fridays 6 to 9, Sundays 4 to 7. Yes. And then we play at the Marriott Custom House on Tuesday nights.
Really?
Yeah,
every Tuesday night?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Lovely.
I'm there every Tuesday, but you're there quite a bit.
Yes, I'm loving it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we heard you played last. I'm sorry to honey. I'm
no.
always interrupting him. But I heard you played at Hamilton Hall last night.
We were there, for the Bodice Society. It was a beautiful event honoring the 225th birthday of the Marquis de Lafayette.
Wow.
It was lovely.
Yeah,
yes, and Lafayette was there.
He wasn't.
He was there. Yes.
Something I wanted to ask about is Larry is not just a teacher of music or a purveyor of music. He also teaches. Well, you're also a classically trained, historically trained swordsman, right?
Right. I love period fencing.
Period fencing.
Period fencing. Yes.
Wow.
And so I've got to get you fencing as well, but I often play with another fellow who loves it as much as I do, and when we perform, we usually have a sword fight at the end, duel to the death, and I die every week. Yeah, he claims his knees are bad.
Yeah.
Oh.
Is it a big grand death?
So,
Yes,
Yeah.
it's getting more and more developed.
Oh. What are you dueling over?
A woman.
Of course. Of
Any
course.
similarities with the bow and the sword?
None whatsoever.
None.
No. Dancing and fencing, though, there's huge similarities.
Larry teaches dance as well, but he also in the schoolwork, you do a lot of work with schools where you'll go in for a historical unit, right?
Right.
And you'll teach, and I picked up some of the subjects you teach. Punishments of Puritan children.
Oh my goodness.
18th century jokes and riddles, strange beliefs of the founding fathers, and historic etiquette.
Right.
Tell me about the punishments.
Oh gosh, no, you really don't want to know about the
Pick
punishments.
a good one.
Oh, I'm trying to give the Puritans a better name, and if you ask me that question, they're not going to come off well.
Oh, come on, one good
All
punishment.
Right. This one wasn't bad. Say you were a little boy or girl who was a liar, told a fib.
Mm-hmm.
You would have to wear a sign around your neck
Mm-hmm.
that said, "He lieth."
He
Or
lieth.
if you spoke
For how
out of
long?
turn, for as long as your parents wanted you to. If you spoke out of turn, they would put a little, like a bit in your mouth with a sign on it that said,
Don't tell
"He
him that.
speaks
I'm in
out
trouble."
of turn." And it was strapped on.
Oh my goodness.
Those are some of the milder punishments.
Public humiliation.
Sounds
Yes.
like this, I
Big on
miss
that.
that I was never a father. Anyway, how about one strand? Now, historic etiquette, we talked about historic etiquette. There's an etiquette of the fan.
There is.
Tell us
right.
about...
Yes, it was said
There's
that
a secret language of the fan,
Mhm.
whereby a woman could communicate with her lover across the room
yes, by her gestures.
by her gestures
Ah.
with the fan.
If you touched the fan to your right cheek, for example, it meant yes.
Oh.
Touched it to your left cheek, it meant no. If you open and shut, meant you are cruel, sir. You are cruel.
Fast like that,
Fast,
yeah?
just like that. If you held it open wide, it meant wait for me. And you could tell your lover what time to meet you by the number of panels that were exposed. So if they left 9, you meet her at 9 o'clock.
That's lovely.
You had to
I know.
count your panels very carefully. If you fanned yourself quickly, it meant I'm engaged.
Oh.
If you fanned yourself slowly, it meant I'm married.
I once heard in a colonial book of etiquette, a gentleman never calls a lady's name from a tavern window.
I can see how that would be the case.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
You'd be the type of lady who consorts with a tavern goer, I guess.
Never.
No,
Is the-
of
yeah.
course not prudence.
No.
Never in life.
Would not be prudent.
Well, I think we're running out of time, but we'd love to have you play us out. Do you have one more tune in you?
We'd be
Sure,
absolutely.
absolutely. That'd be
Perhaps a
great.
dance tune.
Aye, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on GASWorks, and we will see you next time.